excited because this is our first show, full show of the year, but also we're launching a new segment every Wednesday. It is Solidarity Wednesdays with the one and only Ben Dixon. He's the host of the Benjamin Dixon Show, and he's also the author of God is Not a Republican.
Wow, you went way back.
That's it. I mean,
I
you're an
haven't.
author. You gotta.
Yeah, I wrote that one some years ago. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. You're looking good. You're looking
Thank
well
you.
rested,
Thank you.
even
Got
though
some rest. You're
the
looking
world is a
great.
mess.
It is falling apart.
Literally. Okay, so I'm this is our January 6th commemoration. I don't know what we
Yeah.
want to we don't want to commemorate them. I guess we fought the coup. Like maybe we should commemorate the Capitol Hill police, I guess. I'm not
That's
sure.
right.
I have to start off with this because I saw this on going viral on Instagram. The Good Liars highlighted. I think they saw it in Florida. There was a Blue Lives Matter, the like blue line sign, and it said, we support police, asterisk, except for the Capitol Police. Literally, that was on a sign. So
wow,
shows you where they are in their mindset.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I know you just watched the Stephen Donziger interview, and Stephen is, I think, a good interview for the top of the year to remember exactly like what we're up against. But what were I know you had some thoughts.
I was sitting there thinking, if they can do this to a Harvard-educated, successful white man, it's about to get pretty real in this country. And when he said that this was the first type of conviction with a corporate legal team, they're not even sending a chilling effect at this point. What they're saying is, look what we can get away with. And here's the asterisk here. The New York Times won't even say anything about it. The Biden administration won't say anything about it. I don't know if he was going to say whether or not Barack Obama was going to come down and visit him. But I doubt you're going to get Barack Obama to say anything about it. And that's because that's exactly well, anyway, I feel like that's the plan, Nomiki.
Yeah.
I feel like we're headed towards a fascistic state, and if there's more than one side to the culprits.
You mean that mandating vaccines and masks, not even actually mandating vaccines, mandating masks inside private facilities is not fascism, that this is fascism? What are you talking about?
Exactly, right? The fact that I don't know who was saying this, but it's pretty recently. I think it might have been your show or someone else's show, and they were saying that it actually was Tim Black. How you put out conspiracies to distract from the clear conspiracy in front of you.
That's right.
The real conspiracy is that America is falling into a theocratic fascistic state, and well, there's some complicit parties all around us.
Yeah. So this is what I love about our segment that we're going to be doing is I know you and I have privately talked about this offline, about how it's more important than ever for the movement to really stay in solidarity and learn about solidarity and learn about being a great ally, because they're going to do everything they can to come after us, divide us, distract us, channel our energy in non-productive directions, because they're preying on folks feeling insecure, as they should be. I think this is a really unstable time in our history, and I worry that there are good actors that are falling into these bad habits, and there are bad actors who are definitely taking advantage of this moment. And so, maybe before we get to the 1 year note of the coup, what's your take on the state of the movement?
I think that's why I'm glad we're doing this segment. I'm glad we're doing this segment because we have to be able to fight like hell in our silos on our particular issues that are important to us, but then come up and unify with other people who are not going to fight like hell in our particular silo. We get it, but we got to unify to fight like hell on the things that are all a common threat to us. And the creeping fascism is a common threat to us. And I think our segment, and don't get me wrong, I know that's a melodramatic way to frame it, but honestly, we're in a competition of words and rhetoric and propaganda. And, so we have to come together in solidarity as often as we can to fight some of these common fights.
Right. And we'll talk about some of the tactics that they're using against us, against others, to distract, what kind of strategies they use. Because here's the thing, a lot of this stuff has been done before. If we go back to our roots, if we go back to history, if we go back to the writings, whether it's biographies of Rosa Luxemburg, who was predicting what was going to happen in 1938, and then of course she was killed for that, or the countless acts against the civil rights movement and union leaders in the mid last century, in from the 30s all the way up. So the coup. I want to play this one clip that was on MSNBC because there's some debate over what we want to call it, but it still happened. So let's play this clip.
And all this required was peace and calm on Capitol Hill. And at 1 p.m., Senator Ted Cruz and Gosar, a representative, started the Green Bay sweep beautifully, challenging the results of Arizona. Here's the most important thing I can tell you about this. The thing that we were trying to deal with was a media which refused to acknowledge any kind of possible fraud or irregularities.
Yeah, you just described this plan as a way to take an election where the outcome was established by independent secretaries of state, by the voters of those states, and legal remedies have been exhausted with the Supreme Court never even taking, let alone siding with, any of the claims that you just referred to. So legally, they went nowhere. Then you will use the incumbent losing party's power, that was the Republican Party that was losing power, to overtake and reverse that outcome. Do you realize you are describing a coup?
No, I totally reject many of your premises there. First of all, the election was still in doubt and would be until it was certified. Second, the idea that secretaries of state, particularly in Michigan and Pennsylvania, were like innocent parties. I mean, Jocelyn Benson and Kathy Bookfar, the secretaries of state in Michigan and Pennsylvania, they were put in power by George Soros for the express purpose of shifting the playing field.
Wow.
George Soros. Oh man. Okay. I love that he could have maybe gotten away with that. Maybe gotten away with his insanity and his legal skirt, using legal terms. But then when he threw in George Soros, you're just you understand you're on MSNBC right now, right? Like,
right.
That was, of course, Peter Navarro, who's assistant to the president. And he went on MSNBC for some reason. I don't really understand. And he was describing Pence's actions. So this system, this is what Ari Melber later said, that the system was designed to thwart people like you, because Peter Navarro was basically calling Pence somebody who betrayed the president, but he was doing his whole duty, right? I don't know. What are your thoughts? Like, these guys are still in denial, pushing the big lie?
Peter Navarro is, how can I put this? He's like the clean cut version of the idiocy of people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz. Peter Navarro is the traditional Republican establishment who has made his league with Donald Trump, and he's going to go down with Donald Trump, all the way down to fascism. He's totally okay with it. You got to understand, like, during the beginning of the pandemic, Peter Navarro was one of the people who said, yeah, totally go back to school. We don't, the pandemic's schmandemic. So we're dealing with sociopaths who, and I'm dealing with babies in the background as well.
It's all good. Speaking of pandemic, I think the world's used to it now.
Exactly. We're dealing with
sociopaths. When those were viral, those used to be viral moments. Now it's like, it's everybody.
But it really does remind me. It just reminds me of how brash fascism is, and where we are on this march towards fascism, that you have a Republican establishment type like Peter Navarro who goes on and says basically, yeah, no, it wasn't a coup. I don't care what you said.
It's maybe it's like there's some sort of legal definition to the coup. Like, if somebody from the official office of the president says that it was a coup, is that speaking on behalf of the government and basically proving that you are a traitor? And we know how this country, there's a lot of traitors in this country that have gotten away with it, but we do have a precedent, at least for that there is a protection in the Constitution. one of the staff sergeants, I'm going to excuse my language here, Aquilino Gonell, tweeted something. Let's this tweet of his quote. All right, do we all see this? Here we go. So this is the, if we can zoom in a little bit, these were his injuries, right? And he quotes Pence saying that one day in January, because Pence is, of course, saying that one day in January instead of, again, the coup or attempted coup. This happened to me, giving him and others time to escape, to safely do so he couldn't get hanged, executed. To some, my efforts and injuries are just an exaggeration. They did this to me. This is why it matters to me, and it should matter to you too, is essentially what he's saying. That one day in January, this is the part that really shocks me. There were actual lawmakers in there, whether it was Nancy Pelosi, who may not be pushing them hard enough, or Mike Pence, who they were literally, this entire thing was designed to go after him. They wanted to lynch him on the mall. What? And he is still protecting them.
Because he has a conundrum on his hand. This is a civil war in the Republican Party. It's two factions, the Trump faction and the Koch brother faction. Donald Trump did a really good job of coming in and doing his own coup of the Republican Party by winning unexpectedly the presidency. And I say unexpectedly, but Keith Ellison actually was the person he called it. He said that Trump could win, and Trump did win. That created a new faction against which Peter Navarro, just in this clip he was talking about, or in the next clip, when he was talking to Ari, he starts talking about the Koch brother faction. And so Mike Pence cannot blow up the entirety of the Republican Party. So they're trying to figure out, how do we deal with Donald Trump without destroying the Republican Party? And Nomiki, I don't think they can get rid of Trump without destroying the party. So Mike Pence really should come down on the right side of history. But alas, he's deciding to say that day in January. Someday in January.
Let's put this this quote up again, that day in January, from Mike Pence and Lindy Lee's tweet that she put out there. I'll read it verbatim. So Lindy Lee, who's an activist, the other tweet. 1 second. I'll put it up on my computer. You know the jam. We're all hosts. So Lindy Lee is an activist. She was part of the Biden, I think, team, if I recall, the campaign team. Yeah. So she says, Mike Pence says, January 6th was just a day in January. Then Pence on January 6th, afraid that the Secret Service would kidnap him, said, quote, "I'm not getting in the car, Tim. If I get in that vehicle, you guys are taking off." This is insane. And the Capitol Police said, "We did everything possible to prevent him from being hanged and killed in front of his daughter and wife." We know what was going on, but now that it's being laid out with quotes, just how conscious everybody was in the Capitol of what was happening. I mean, we remember the tweets when you had squad members in closets. Cori Bush texted me the day of. She was on, in a basement in the Capitol, scared for her life. But now you're seeing how the Republicans dealt with it. They literally were afraid of the Secret Service.
And they're going to try again.
Yeah.
Of all the things I could say, I think people need to realize they're going to try again. They're not satisfied.
And then what?
Well, I think they keep trying until they succeed.
Yeah. See, here's the thing. They don't actually, a lot of these guys are QAnoners, were mobilized from QAnon. They, some were Proud Boys. It was like a collective of the far right. But some of them regret and said that they were being brainwashed from QAnon when they were interviewed by the FBI. I think what we on the left need to do is recognize more of that. And I'd love to hear your take in terms of how we prevent this, because Democrats are clearly not going to do anything. They're doing very little. They're doing these hearings. Wow. It's important. They'll raise a lot of money off of it. It's an election year. Perhaps highlighting the coup over and over will remind folks that our government is at risk and democracy at risk, maybe that'll win or protect some Democrats, right?
Right.
But the truth is that the Koch brothers invested locally 40 years ago. They built the framework for people like the Proud Boys to be running for office locally. Whether or not they're fighting with each other or not, they're either going to storm the Capitol or they're going to walk into the Capitol with a badge.
Or they'll get elected.
That's what I mean by getting elected as a.
Oh, I thought you meant they'll go in as security. They'll go in as security as well.
Well, that's true, yeah.
Because many of them were police officers themselves or ex-military, and they, so they have their ways. What do we do?
Yeah.
We have to honestly show the Democratic Party. No. Forget about the Democratic Party. We have to show the people that there's a better breed of Democrat out here, that we see what's going on, and that we see that these people, when I say Democrat, I'm talking about lowercase d, small d Democrat. There's a better breed of Democrat out here who's not going to sit back and just watch these fascists take over. And I think it starts with how we campaign, how we talk about these things, like very clearly stating it like you just did, Nomiki. This is a fascist coup. This is a fascist takeover, and we need to fight back accordingly. I think just using that language in how we campaign will set us apart, because a lot of the Democrats are starting to fall asleep.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's true. It's I'm of the mindset just a little bit different. Is yes, there are obviously better breeds of Democrats, but I also think that we shouldn't have to rely on those Democrats, and we should just be running against them. We should run red districts as progressives. The Democrats, the establishment Democrats don't want to run people against these fascists because they think you're going to lose. Well, guess what? Somebody should. Because my thought is there are enough sane people out there that don't want a Proud Boy representing them in city council.
That's right.
They'll take a mom. They'll take a teacher. They'll take somebody from the community that's sane and is thinking about the community and is invested in the community. Not some boy who's going to, burn the house down. And
I'm going to tell you the honest truth. I think what happened was the Democratic Party found out how much money they can make from running campaigns. Yep. And they are more interested in just milking that money than actually electing and accomplishing anything. Because it makes no sense that we have to recreate the organizing structure every 2 years and every 4 years for someone to run for office, when those infrastructures should be in place all the time for political action, for organizing, for fighting it back. You asking all the right questions today, Nomiki.
I'm feeling stressed a little bit about the future. Because, do you think that what do you think 11 months from now, where do you think we'll be?
Unless there's some divine intervention, I don't see the Democratic Party doing what's necessary to block Democrats from losing the House, and block, at this pace. I don't want to sound like the bearer of bad news, but they're winning. Their strategy is working, and the Democrats are sitting back like, it's fine. Right. I don't know. I hope we can get something going around here.
And Trump's, he's leaning into places like Arizona. He wants to these rallies with, in a state that has a lot of QAnon viewers. They arrested some people in Arizona who stormed the Capitol, who were caught, that were big QAnon, believers, I guess. And I think he's leaning in because he knows how close it was in Arizona, and in places like Georgia. Like what's happening there? You're on the ground.
Everyone is honestly gearing up for the impact of Donald Trump on the gubernatorial race with Stacey Abrams, Brian Kemp, and David Perdue, as well as the Secretary of State race. Donald Trump is trying to get one of his henchmen in there to win that seat. So everyone is trying to gear up to hold the line against Trump in the 2018, the upcoming, the 2022.
Don't we wish?
Yeah.
Don't we wish we still had that energy? All right. Before we wrap, got to ask you a question.
Sure.
So what do you think the state of the left is? Where do you think we need to pivot a little bit?
I think we need to just continue to swim in some solidarity. I think we recovered, or rather, no, we didn't recover. We survived. 2021. 2021 was really the testing of our solidarity, the testing of the left, particularly the online left, the Twitter left. That was a power source. And people can say what they want to. The online left and the Twitter left was a power source that was attacked in 2021, and they almost took us out. But we're still here. And I think the way we strengthen ourselves is through solidarity.
I love it.
Yeah.
Solidarity Wednesdays with Ben. Check us out. We'll be on his show at 8 a.m. on Wednesday.